All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we are live. Welcome back to the Scotty Might Now podcast, episode number 3. First of all, thank you guys for all the support already through these couple of episodes. Our last live stream at one time had like 40 viewers, and then over time it's just gotten more and more views. So just thank you for that. As we keep going, things are going to keep getting better. I'm going to get the Spotify audio only links up. As well as just some, we're gonna get guests on here and stuff, and so it's gonna be a fun ride. So, thank you guys for joining in already. And as we continue, I hope it's fun for everybody. So, we are going to get started today by talking through kind of what the NFL playoffs look like right now. And I've been seeing everybody do their NFL playoff remaining quarterback rankings. And so that's what I want to get started with. And then I want to look at what the lines are and tell you what I think that each game is going to do based off of those lines. And then look at the offseason for the NFL and I think where teams are poised already for next year and what they need to do in the offseason. And then a little NBA talk. LeBron James just became the youngest and second player to ever hit 38,000 points. Just more evidence that he's the GOAT. And then Padres bringing in the number 1 international prospect. He's a catcher, Ethan Salas. That guy, I've seen some interviews with him already. A 16-year-old kid was just given this big MLB contract, and you would think he's just going nuts about it. He's just very mature, very cool guy. So I'm excited for today's episode. I want to look at a couple things, and so we're gonna click right over to this tier list, and this is the best one I could find. I tried to find one that had like the quarterbacks' faces or names, but all of those just had the starters from the beginning of the year, and so as you can see, this kind of grayed out chunk is everyone that's out of the playoffs, either didn't make it in or has been eliminated already. Down here we have the quarterbacks who are left, or the teams that are left, and their quarterbacks. So this is what I think quickly about the quarterbacks who are left in the NFL for playoffs. Obviously, Mahomes is the best. And not just the best in terms of the playoffs, but the best quarterback in the NFL. He's kind of the gold standard right now. Where do you match up when it comes to compared to Mahomes? And that's kind of how we look at quarterbacks right now. And so he's up in that S tier. I should have created another tier. You know what? I'm going to do that right now. It'll work. Add row below. We're going to call this the S minus. S minus. To where it's not Mahomes, but they are kind of separated from the rest of the pack. And that's kind of where Joe Burrow sits right now. He is very good at what he does, leading his team again in the playoffs and just doing it well. And with a team or with an offensive line that is letting him down time after time after time. And so I love what he does. Trevor Lawrence, out of these ones left, right? Daniel Jones is in C. So if Mahomes is here and Daniel Jones is here, the thing about Trevor Lawrence is he had a great end of the regular season, and a weird first playoff game. So you can't throw 4 interceptions in a playoff game and then call yourself great. But he did win that game because of some of the worst coaching I've ever seen in my life from the opposite team. I'm going to put him in the B tier for now. If he for some reason beats Mahomes, he's going to jump. And I think next year he has, he's already in the top 10 quarterbacks, I think, at the start of next year. But for right now, we're going to put him in B. Then that might change. Josh Allen goes there too. you just don't with Lawrence. We haven't really seen enough, so we don't know what we're gonna get. With Josh Allen, you just never know what you're gonna get. Whether he's gonna turn the ball over 5 times or he's going to play a near perfect game. A lot of Brett Favre in him, a lot of just kind of, well, we'll see what happens. And he's you're either going to get greatness or you're going to get a whole lot of turnovers, and that's the whole reason why Miami's in that game last week. That should have been a blowout from the start, and it's close because he can't stop turning the ball over or fumbling. So I'm going to put him in that same B, and we'll call this one kind of like you don't know what you're going to get, right? So just don't know is what I'll call this one. Because again, with Trevor Lawrence, we haven't seen enough yet, so we don't exactly know the full scale of what he is. And with Josh Allen, we don't know what we're going to get. Speaking of, that's the same with Brock Purdy. There's 2 realities with Brock Purdy. Either Brock Purdy is a good quarterback, and he's kind of like Kurt Warner. Like, it flew under everyone's radar and now has his chance and is coming through the way he is. So it's either Brock Purdy is this great quarterback talent, or, oh, by the way, I see you guys' comments coming in and stuff. I kind of answer those at the end of each block. So if you're commenting questions and whatever, we'll get to that at the end of each block. So either Brock Purdy is a great quarterback, or the San Francisco 49ers system is fantastic. It could be a little bit of both. I lean a little more towards the San Francisco 49er team and system just being unbelievable, to where I think a lot of people could go in there and be as successful as they are. So again, we don't know, and for a different reason, right? So if we were to order these, I think Josh Allen is better than Trevor Lawrence right now, and obviously they're both better than Purdy. We just don't know. I'll put Dak in the A. I'll put Dak in the A tier of this guy. That game was near perfect against the Patriots against Tom Brady and the Bucs. He had a great playoff game. His potential is up there. The team as a whole has the potential to just fall apart sometimes, but I think when Dak is on, he can get it done, and that's the same with Jalen Hurts. I'm tempted to put him in this I don't know tier, because he's been injured. We'll see what happens, but that's the ranking right now of who's left. Kansas City, Baltimore, the Cowboys, Eagles, Bills, Jaguars, San Francisco 49ers, and Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones I might be wrong about. Like, he might actually be finally hitting a stride where he's going to become an okay quarterback. But he's been darn near horrible for a while. Who's better, DeMarcus Cousins or Kirk Cousins? Oh, jeez. Kirk Cousins, definitely, every time. That's where I would put those guys. So we go from here. Let's talk about every single team and kind of what the offseason looks like for them, and how they're poised next year for the NBA playoffs, or the NFL playoffs and the NFL regular season. So we start with Tennessee. Tennessee is an interesting. The quicker they can get rid of Tannehill and get a quarterback in there who's going to do better, the better. Obviously, Derrick Henry is an amazing talent, and the loss of Brown, their receiver, really hurt them this year, and we saw that. And so they had to figure some stuff out this year, and that's why I think they went from the 1 seed to not in the playoffs. And so them being able to figure out the next steps, I think, is going to be very important with that for them. I'm going to say right now they are in they're not stuck. I say the future's bright for them. I think they have a couple more years of a window with Derrick Henry, and kind of move on. The Dolphins, speaking of the Dolphins, the Tom Brady situation is extremely interesting because he could end up in a couple of places. Some people think he's done, that he's going to retire. I guess we'll see. One of the places I see him going is the Dolphins. Another place I see him going is the Raiders. And then another one, I was just thinking about this the other day. It was Dolphins, Raiders, and the 49ers. But I think at this point, the 49ers are just going to say we're rolling with Purdy until we see otherwise. But they have great talent. They have a great defense. They have an okay defense. They have great offensive weapons, and we'll see what happens there. The Jets are a quarterback away from being in the playoffs next year. And so we will kind of see what happens with them. I think they're just a couple moves away. I don't know if they're in the Tom Brady business. And I don't know if they're in the Derek Carr business. They might be in the business of trying to figure out how to get a college quarterback coming out of the draft, but then you trade away some of the reasons why you are good and poised and ready to go. But this is a team, every year you have 4 teams on average that were in the playoffs that don't make the playoffs the next year. And then you also have vice versa. You have 4 teams. Because of that, you have the 4 teams that didn't make the playoffs that will make the playoffs the year after that. I think the Jets are going to be one of those teams that didn't make the playoffs, but will be in the playoffs next year because I think they're going to make a move on a quarterback, and then they'll be ready to roll. Bengals are going to be ready to compete no matter what, unless something crazy happens and they lose Joe Burrow. They're going to be ready to compete. The Browns are stuck. The Browns are really stuck with having Deshaun Watson on their roster and having to pay him so much money. They're stuck. They're kind of just going to be what they were this year, and we'll see if maybe they can improve their current talent, but they're stuck right now. Jaguars are another team that's a couple moves away. They need weapons for Lawrence. Their defense is pretty good, and their offensive line is okay. I would say you need a couple more weapons for him, and then let him go. The Lions' future is bright. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think they should stick with Goff. I think those running backs are fantastic. Their receivers are pretty good. The defense is okay. I think you just need to draft well and maybe make a splash in free agency, and we'll see. Their future is very bright. The Vikings are stuck, but not in the way that I think the Browns are. I think the Browns are stuck not making the playoffs for a couple more years. And I think the Vikings are stuck in they're just going to keep being a first or second round exit just because I don't think Kirk Cousins can take him anywhere. The Bucks are in a very bad situation with the Browns. We'll put the Vikings kind of here, Browns and Bucks there, of like, now that you're losing Tom Brady, because you're going to lose Tom Brady, you still have minus 20 something million dollars in cap. Like, they're in the negative in cap space, so they can't make big moves in free agency. They might be able to make a few trade pieces. You know what? I'm creating a new add row below. We're just going to call this Rebuild City. There we go. I don't know why that's over there like that, but we'll call it Rebuild City. I think you just need to tear everything down. Go take your top talents and just sell. Get a ton of draft picks. and rebuild. Congratulations, you got your Super Bowl with Tom Brady, but now he's gone. It's time to rebuild. 49ers are ready to compete no matter what. No matter what they do with their quarterback, I think it's going to be, they're just going to continue to be a great team. The Falcons' future is bright. They aren't in a horrible cap situation. Mariota was a good bridge quarterback for them, and now they're in a position where they can start building a couple more good drafts together, as well as a free agent splash or two, and they could be back in 2 to 3 years. Ravens are a couple moves away. Ravens are, because I don't think Lamar Jackson's staying with the Ravens. I think he's gone. I think he's done. But the rest of the team is still pretty good. The problem is they've made, you know what? Because of the next team that we're talking about. We're going to add another row. We're going to call it trade partners. Because the Ravens have historically never wanted to pay their quarterbacks a lot of money. I think that the Ravens and the Bears could make a very sensible 1-for-1 trade. The Bears have the most cap space in the league. You take Lamar Jackson, you say just trade Lamar Jackson for Justin Fields. So that way the Ravens don't have to pay their quarterback and they can continue to build the team around him. And then the Bears can make that move for Lamar Jackson as well as a ton of other moves because they have by far the most cap room in the league. Cowboys, a couple moves away. I don't think currently they're a Super Bowl team. I think, you know what? No, they're ready to compete next year because it sucks that they're running into the 49ers, and it sucks that the Giants, for the Cowboys, it sucks that the Giants won. Because if the Giants were going to Philadelphia, I would say that they're in the NFC Championship game. But now I can't see that happening. So it sucks that they're running into the 49ers this week and that they're going to lose that game. But if they were going to Philadelphia, then they would win and go to the NFC Championship. And I don't think they have a ton of big moves to make. I think they're in a good spot, ready to compete next year already. Texans need a miracle. I don't even care what the quarterback they get. Even if they land Bryce Young, they need so many other things to go well for that team to be back in it. The Colts' future is not bright. I don't see them making any big trades with anybody. They're not stuck, though, because they don't have a ton of cap space wrapped up in people. So I'm going to say they're in rebuild city. Same with the Rams. The Rams need to tear it down. Right now they're stuck, but they have the option to just sell, trade, and get a bunch of draft picks, go into about a 5-year little rebuild thing and ramp back up. Right now they're stuck, but I think they could become rebuild city. So right now we're going to put them in stuck. Chargers are a couple moves away. And one of those moves is being a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, and then a couple other big-time, physical type players. They need speed at receiver. They need a linebacker. And they need probably a better between the gaps running back. I think keeping Eckler is great. He's going to continue to do what he does. Right now, the backup running backs that we have aren't good enough between the tackles to get the job done. Get a better running back. Get a new head coach. Get a better offensive coordinator, and then get a third receiver that actually has substance to what he does in his game, and then we're in a good spot. Raiders. Is the Raiders' futures bright? They've got a lot of young talent, but they're going to be in the quarterback market. We're going to put them there for now, and we'll kind of see what happens. The football team, Washington football team, y'all need to figure out a quarterback. But the young talent's there. Really good. Chiefs, obviously, are going to be ready to compete next year. Saints, are in rebuild city mode. The Giants are a couple moves away from being really ready to compete. Eagles, they're going to downgrade next year. They're going to downgrade this next year. They're not going to be as good as they were this year. Unless they make some huge moves. So we're going to put them... We're going to say future's bright. I don't think you have a repeat of this year. But you have the ability to be competitive for a while. Steelers are in rebuild city. Broncos are the most stuck team of any NFL team right now. They are in the worst situation out of all the league. They can't get rid of their quarterback. They don't have cap space to sign other people. They just have to deal with what they have, and it's not good, and they're going to be last in the AFC West for about 3 more years until they can get rid of Russell Wilson. The Packers are stuck because of Aaron Rodgers. He's holding them hostage. Do you trade Aaron Rodgers and roll the dice on Jordan Love? Do you just completely restart? But as long as they're not good enough to compete next year, even with Aaron Rodgers, Panthers are in full rebuild mode. Cardinals should be in full rebuild mode. Bills are going to be ready to compete. Seahawks are a couple moves away. They're right there. Great year this year. And I'll say the Patriots are also in rebuild mode. So that's where each team is looking for towards the offseason. After they get past the playoffs, what is our offseason like? What should we do to put ourselves in the best situation? You know what? We're going to move the Broncos down to we need a miracle. They're so done for 4 years. It's going to be bad for them. All right, we're going to take a break. Be right back. I'll answer some of your questions and then move on and talk about little NBA and MLB, and that'll be it for today. We'll be right back. Thank you. All right, let's get back to it. You guys are funny in the chat. I don't know who you guys are or what you're doing. Why isn't this loading up? There we go. You guys are going crazy. I did play high school football. I played receiver, and then I coached high school football for 9 years. A lot of this other stuff just doesn't apply to what we're talking about in terms of sports. That's funny. When is Stephen A. Smith going to feature on your pod? Never. Hopefully someday, maybe, I'm able to sit down with Nick Wright and talk sports. That's my goal, is sitting down and talking with Nick Wright just about sports. I love that guy. I love what he does. And so we'll see if that happens. Okay, so NFL, kind of, there's not much left we can talk about there, except maybe look at the lines. We might do that at the end of the podcast. NBA, real quick. LeBron James hits 38,000 points, the youngest player to hit 38,000 points. Here's an interesting fact about that. He is the youngest player to hit every single 1,000-yard mark. So every 1,000-point mark. So every time he hits 1,000 points, 2,000 points, 3,000 points through his career, he's the youngest player to do so. And I think after, like, when you're in the 600 points somewhere, beginning stage, after a certain point there, he's the youngest player to hit every single point marker. So every time he makes a basket, since his 650th point, something like that, he has been the youngest player to have that many points. And so, drink a Red Bull. Bro, I got a monster right here. And so, that is impressive. And now he's the second player to ever hit 38,000. And he's the youngest player to do it. He's going to pass Kareem this season. We all know that. And just, again, solidify his status as the GOAT. LeBron James is the best basketball player to ever play, and he's proving it to us yet again. Because the fact that, like, oh, he hit 38,000 points just because he's played for so long. No, because he's done it, and he's younger than even Kareem was. And so he's probably going to be the first person to ever hit 39,000. And then depending on how long his body keeps up, he might hit 40. And it's just another bullet point. And this one's pretty big. One of the ones at the top of why he's the best basketball player to ever touch a basketball court, to ever touch a basketball, to ever walk the earth. Because the whole point of basketball is putting the ball in the net, and he's going to be the best one that has ever done that. And he's the one that's done it more than anybody else. And so it will just solidify him as the best player. Now, with the end of the NFL season and with the playoffs, I haven't been paying too much attention to what's been going on around the entire NBA. So I want to kind of quickly look at the standings, give my reaction here in real time. That's a good flavor. I've never had this one. It's called Ultra Gold. This podcast is not sponsored by Monster, but hey, Monster, if you ever want to, just let me know. I'll drink a Monster every stream if you want me to. This is good. All right, NBA standings. Let's check it out. Celtics are in first. I've known that. They're a team. They're going to do exactly what they did last year. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. They're going to do exactly what they did last year. Make a run, have a good story, make it to the playoffs, and then lose to a team that's actually better than them. Like the Bucks or I don't know if the Sixers have a real chance. I think the Sixers are a nice story every single year. The Nets turnaround has been insane. They were horrible to start the year. In the first 20 games, they couldn't play basketball correctly. And now here they are sitting. The Cavs have the brightest future of any team in the NBA. I think they're going to make a run for the finals this year, and then I think they're going to just keep making finals runs for about 5 years. This is going to be a fun team to watch. The Heat need to tear it all down and rebuild, dude. You guys are just in this, oh yeah, we're going to be the 6th seed every year and never get good draft picks, but never be good enough to get past the second round. They need to tear it all down and start over. The Knicks are surprisingly in the 7th seed. They're pretenders. They're not going anywhere. The Hawks, Trae Young isn't as good as everybody thinks. And I don't think they're going to make any noise anytime soon. The Bulls being as bad as they are after the year that they had last year is surprising to me. I could see the Bulls and the Raptors be selling teams at the trade deadline. Here's Zach LaVine. Here's DeMar DeRozan. The Raptors. Here's Pascal Siakam. Here's Fred VanVleet. Here's Jonas Valanciunas. Like, here's all these different guys, and just selling their teams to enter rebuild mode. Just because I think they're going to be stuck sitting right here, somewhere in this window, unless they do something. So that's the East. Let's go to the West. Nuggets are atop it again. I can't trust the Nuggets. They don't have the talent to get through an entire playoffs. They have Jokic, and that's awesome, and he can win game by game, but I don't think they can string 16 wins together in the playoffs without a second guy. And I know they were injured a little bit last year. Michael Porter Jr. wasn't there, and all this kind of. I just don't see them doing it. The Grizzlies, I hope the Grizzlies go away. I don't think they're any sort of good. They are all flash, and they live off of momentum. So as long as the stadium is loud, and as long as they're hyping each other up, they can just play. But the moment something doesn't go their way, they fall apart. And that's why I don't think they're going to have any playoff success. They might win a series or two, but they run into someone like the Warriors, again, they can't beat them. The Kings are the surprise team of the season. I am shocked that they're in third, especially after trading Halliburton last year. I thought they traded away their future. Like, that was it. Now they're going to keep just being the last seed or second to last seed and never be able to get out. But the fact that they're in third is crazy to me. Like, these guys have just hit these kind of career jumps where they're finally performing at the level people thought they would. De'Aaron Fox is doing great. Marvin Bagley's doing awesome. It's really cool to see them kind of back in contention like this. In my lifetime, in terms of like conscious actually paying attention to sports lifetime, they've never done anything. So this is cool. Pelicans, they have Zion, they have Brandon Ingram, they have CJ McCollum. They're gonna have success, but they're not going anywhere in the playoffs. Speaking of people that aren't going anywhere in the playoffs, the Mavericks, the Luka hype is real. Like, he's a great basketball player, but they have nothing. And he's not a great basketball player to dominate every facet of the game to help his team win in the playoffs. Like, Giannis, if you switched Giannis and Luka, I think they would have the same playoff path where they both get to the playoffs and then make it to either the conference championship or the finals, because Luka would have more help, but Giannis is still able to just do things on his own. And so I don't think the Mavericks will go anywhere in the playoffs. The Warriors, I think, are, now that everyone on that team, even like they picked up DiVincenzo, everybody on this team has finals experience and I think has won a finals now. And so I think they all realize we just need to do what we need to do to get to the playoffs, conserve our energy, kind of play in kind of like not a mature fashion, but a way of like, we're not going to give it all every single night for every single game. We're just going to do what we need to do to get to the playoffs. We don't need home court advantage. We don't need whatever, but keep us out of the play-in, right? You keep them out of 7, 8, 9, and 10, right, for the play-in tournament. Let's just get into the regular playoffs and then go from there. And they're good enough to win it. The Jazz need to stop winning because they just need to drop and hopefully get a good draft pick. They need to stop winning. They're not good enough. They're not going to do anything. Clippers is one of the worst failed experiments in NBA history of the whole Kawhi and Paul George thing. They sold everything they had for those two, and it's not going to work, and they're going to be back in what the Clippers do, and that's sit at the bottom of the NBA every year. The Thunder, future is bright for them. I think SGA is for real. I think all this talent and all these draft picks that they have are going to pan out soon. And we're going to see them in the next 2 or 3 years really make a jump and be competitive every year. Timberwolves, with Karl Anthony Towns being out, is rough. And talk about bad trades. That trade that they made for Gobert, that's why the Jazz are sitting where they're at. And they're in such a good position. That Gobert trade, that's going to ruin the Timberwolves. Trailblazers, I know Dame is loyal and I want to stay in Portland, but I really hope for his sake he leaves someday and gets to go play for another team. Suns, you can stay down there. I don't like you. Lakers, as long as Anthony Davis is on that team, you're not doing anything because he's just going to keep getting injured in important spots. You're not going anywhere. Spurs are in full rebuild. Rockets are in full rebuild. But LeBron got 38,000 points. Steph Curry keeps doing Steph Curry things. Why is that happening? There we go. And the Warriors are on the way. They're facing the Celtics tonight, so they already beat them and beat them good earlier this season, and so hopefully they do that again, because just them being able to answer the bell against great teams this year has been true. So like, yes, they're sitting at 500, but beat the Celtics. When they face the Grizzlies, they've beat them. When they face the Nets, they beat them. They're beating these teams that, like, when they get to the playoffs will actually matter. And so that is the current scope of the NBA. When the NFL playoffs end, we're going to have a lot more focus on the NBA. Just the NFL is just it's what everyone's paying attention to, and therefore it's what we're paying attention to. So we are going to take a quick break, do a quick MLB look, and then look at maybe some NFL lines and predict. I'm going to make a second prediction for the playoffs, just kind of like I did last episode, and then we'll end it there. We will be right back. Okay, final block of the day. Real quick on the MLB front, the Padres signing Solis, number one MLB international prospect, is huge, and I think it does a couple things for the team. Not only is the kid a great kid, great character, but I think it sends a message to Campusano that it ain't you. Like, you're not the guy long term. And now I think you take the trade deals just got a little bit sweeter, I think. If you go Grisham, Campusano, Weathers, Merrill, and Ha-Seong Kim, you take those 5 guys either in one package or 2 smaller packages. You could end up nabbing 1 or 2 pretty good additions to the team, whether it's one huge superstar kind of guy like I was saying, like Byron Buxton, or maybe you add a pitcher and then like a Brian Reynolds from the Pirates, but you can create 2 kind of trade packages there, or one big one for, a star plus a couple of things. And so I think it clearly sends a message to Campusano, you're not the guy. And we could really ride Nola and then maybe get another catcher next year or something in free agency to kind of ride those guys until Solis is ready. And that's going to be a lot of fun to watch that kid grow and watch what happens with him. So I'm excited about that. MLB in general news, Tommy Pham went to the Mets, and I made a joke. I'm like, it's going to ruin them. That's going to be the reason they don't do anything. Not really. Just I think the Mets are going to flame out. I think they're going to get kind of like the Dodgers did. They're going to have an amazing regular season. They're going to get to the playoffs and kind of just be in that look what we just did mode, and then it's just going to all go downhill for them. My prediction right now, if you said, who do I see playing in the World Series, I don't think anyone's stopping the Astros, and I think the Padres are the best team and lineup in the MLB. So I think it's Padres, Astros, and then we'll see what happens from there. All right, real quick, couple questions that I just saw you guys put in on Instagram. Which playoff game are you most hyped for this week? I'm excited for Bills Bengals. I think everybody is. I think everyone can kind of assume 49ers are going to beat. You know what? I keep saying we're going to do this, and I keep saying we're going to look at the betting lines, and then we don't. So we're going to pull that up right now. Boom. Okay. So Chiefs and Jaguars. Chiefs are favored by -8.5. So if you don't know how this works, if you know how it says Chiefs here, I'll zoom in a little bit again. If it says Chiefs -8.5 like this, that means, do you pick the Chiefs to win by 9 or more points? It's like going into the game, the Jaguars already have 8.5 points, and so what you're saying is I believe the Chiefs would still beat the Jaguars if Jaguars started the game with 8.5 points. And so Chiefs are Chiefs are 8.5 favorites. Yeah, I could see that. I would say that that's not going to happen. I would actually, if I'm not going to bet, I don't bet. But if I were to, I would hit the Jaguars on this one. I think it's going to be a 7-point game. And so if you thought that was the case, you would take the Jaguars plus 8.5 because you don't think the Jaguars are going to lose by 9 or more. Giants-Eagles minus 7.5. That seems about right. I could see the Eagles winning by 10 here, so I would take the Eagles there. Bengals. The Bengals are 5.5-point underdogs. Yeah, no, I would bet that in a heartbeat. I think the Bengals are going to win by at least 7. And if they lose, it's going to be on a last-second field goal. That's crazy. Yeah, I would take the Bengals here for sure. I can't believe the Bills are the ones that are favored. I get it's at home. But don't you get, I think you get 5 points when they're putting these spreads together. I think you get 5 points just because you're the home team. So in a neutral site, this is a 1.5 point line. That makes sense. I think the Bengals are winning outright. And then that's the game I'm most excited for, by the way. Sorry to answer your question finally. And then Cowboys 49ers, the line is at 4. So you can push this game if the Cowboys only lose by 4 or if the Niners win by 4. But I would bet the 49ers here. I think it's going to be a bigger discrepancy than this. I think this is going to be a 27-17, 27-14 type game. So yeah. All right. That is the lines. So that's the game I keep clicking the wrong thing. That's the game I'm most excited for is Bengals Bills. All right. Bengals and Joe Burrow. They're going to win. Then they're going to Kansas City. The Chiefs are going to beat them. And then they're going to meet the Niners in the Super Bowl. So that's what's going to happen. Book it. Guarantee it. Maybe not guarantee, but that's what I think is going to happen. Is Curry top 5? That's another question. He's either 5 or 6 in terms of all time. If we're talking point guards, he's number 1. And then you have to answer the question, do you think Curry is better than Tim Duncan? Because if you think Curry's better than Tim Duncan, which I do, then Curry's 5. Right after Michael Jordan at 4. And then if you don't, then Curry's probably 6th. Beats out everyone else that you can kind of think of other than those top 5 guys. LeBron, Kareem, Kobe, Michael, Duncan, Curry. Because I don't think you can say any other NBA player at this point gets above Steph. I don't see how you can make that argument. Because he's the best point guard to ever play. So unless you're taking someone like Bird, who is probably your second or third, I would say third best small forward. But if he's third, that means he's behind Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant's not top 10. But if he's second, then you can make that argument. Centers, I could see a Shaq argument, Shaq over Steph Curry, which would then put Steph at 7. I'm trying to say, what other arguments could I listen to and probably agree with? Like, yeah, I could see why that's the case. You could argue to me that those 6 guys are all better than Steph. I don't think anybody else, if you actually pose an argument of this guy's better than Steph, that I would actually give any credit whatsoever. I might have to think on that. But is Curry's top 5? Depends on where you place Duncan and Shaq. For me, I put Curry at 5, and then Duncan, and then Shaq right after him. So that is my top 10. lastly, and we might do this in the next episode, I've been seeing this trend everywhere. It's what do quarterback in the NFL look like when it comes to, or like based on what they look like, how does each NFL quarterback smell? And it's stuff like, an ocean breeze or oranges or freshly cut grass or whatever. I think that's really funny, and I think I might set that up for Monday's episode. But we have another great NFL weekend coming up. We have Warriors Celtics tonight, so I'll probably give a reaction to that on Monday. And until then, have a fantastic sports weekend. Take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend in general. We'll see you on Monday. This is the Scotty Might Know podcast. Thanks for coming by. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.